أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الفلاح حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. يقول الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: أو من كان ميتا فأحييناه وجعلنا له نورا يمشي به في الناس كمن مثله في الظلمات ليس بخارج منها كذلك زين للكافرين ما كانوا يعملون. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in His noble book, the Quran, He said, أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا. He said, if the person, was dead, he had no life, he had no iman. And here is not talking about death, like an actual physical death, but the death of the heart, that his heart was dead, it wasn't alive. Because our hearts only become alive with the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with iman, with tawheed, with following the Quran and the Sunnah. This is what brings life to the heart. So he said, "Our man kana maytan." So this person, he's dead. He's walking on the earth. He's full of sins, full of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Duna fa'ahyaynahu. Ya ikhwa. Excuse me. That's the women's section. What y'all doing? No, you don't go back there. You come back through the front. So he said after that, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, He said that the person was dead. His heart was dead. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him life. Gave him life. وَحِينَاهُ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورٍ. And with this life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought to his heart, He gave him iman, He gave him tawheed, He brought him to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and took him out of this death of darkness that he was living in. And He gave him this nur, this light, which is the correct guidance of the Quran and the Sunnah. And this light, it made it to where now everything becomes clear to him. With this light, he can see the truth, and he can see the truth for what it is, and he can see the falsehood. He knows what obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, and he knows what the disobedience is. He knows what the sunnah is, and he knows what bid'ah is, and he knows how to stay away from those things that he has to stay away from. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him this light. وَيَمْشِي بِهِ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. And he's walking with this light between the people, all the people that are steeped in darkness, steeped in disobedience, steeped in kufr, steeped in shirk. And he's walking with this light amongst the people. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, is he the same? And he's doing a comparison between these people. So this person that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving light, is he the same? As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned here, command مَثَلُهُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ. Like the man who's just walking in darkness. He lives his life in darkness. The darkness of sin, the darkness of disobedience, the darkness of bid'ah, the darkness of shirk, and all these types of darknesses that the people live in. Are they the same? He said, كَمَنْ مَثَلُهُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِنْهَا, that he lives in this darkness and he never leaves it. He dies upon this darkness, and he's raised up with this darkness on the day of judgment. He remains in this darkness for his entire life and then through his entire eternity. He said, are they the same? كَذَلِكَ زُيِّنَ لِلْكَافِرِينَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. He said, and this is how, for the kuffar, that their actions have become beautified for them. Because if you look at the people nowadays, and their disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how proud they are of their disobedience. Because shaitan has come to the people, and they made this disobedience, and he's glorified this type of disobedience. He's glorified using drugs. He's glorified acting like the kuffar. He's glorified going against the sunnah, going against the deen. He's glorified all these different things that you see that the people are now proud of, they boast of, they post on social media just to show off, like, look at me, look at what I'm doing. Look at me, I'm smoking weed. Look at me, I'm listening to music. Look at you, you're living in darkness. And this is what you're steeped in. And this is if you continue living in this darkness and not accepting the light of Iman and the light of Tawheed and the light of correct obedience, then you die on this darkness and you raised up on this darkness. And this is exactly what everybody here is trying to extinguish. And you see all of the kuffar and everything that they're pushing is to keep the people away from this guidance, keep the people away from this light. The kuffar are pushing everything, music and movies and everything, just to keep everybody busy with the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so they don't see this light, so they don't see the correct guidance. Because they're so afraid of, like, once the people know that this is the truth and they see Islam for what it is, they can't help but to accept it. It's from their fitrah that they accept it. So these kuffar have to constantly fight against it and hide it and keep the people busy with things that bring them no benefit. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about these kuffar, He said, يُرِيدُونَ أَن يُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ, that they want to extinguish the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They want to extinguish this light بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ, with their speech. They keep the people busy with music, keep the people busy with movies and entertainment and all these forms of social media and everything that brings you no benefit. And here you see, this is how they're trying to extinguish the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, وَيَأْبَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا يَتِمَّ نُورُهُ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. And he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refuses, except that His light is complete. That He brings and He shows the people the complete truth. And He sends it down in its entirety where the people, they obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. Even if these kuffar hate that, they hate the spread of this light, they hate the spread of this deen, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to continue to cause this deen to spread. And there'll always be these people that are going to accept the correct guidance and call the people to the sunnah no matter what they do to try to stop it. But the issue is, are you going to be a part of that? Are you still going to be remaining in that darkness? Because the light is always going to be here until the day of judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to protect this deen. He's promised to protect this deen. But what about you? Are you going to be a part of that protection? Are you going to be a part of the light, fighting for the light and spreading the light? Or are you going to be a part of that darkness and remaining in that darkness and continuing to live your life without that light and continuing to spread that darkness? That choice is now what you have to make every single day of your life. And then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, هُوَ الَّذِي أَرْسَلَ رَسُولَهُ بِالْهُدَى وَالدِّينِ الْحَقِّ لِيُظْهِرُهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. And He said that Allah He's هُوَ الَّذِي أَرْسَلَ رَسُولَهُ. He's the one that sent His messenger. He sent Him for this purpose, to explain everything to the people and make it clear to the people that this is the correct guidance and this is what you have to follow. This is what brings you into that light. This is what's going to protect you on the day of judgment. So now you have the choice. Are you going to follow Him and accept this truth, or do you remain anchored in the darkness? So He said, Bil Huda, He sent Him with the guidance, wa Deen al-Haq, and with the truthful way, with the correct way, with the most upright way, the way of Islam that calls you back to morality, that calls you back to istiqamah, it calls you back to, like I mentioned previously, the deen that brings you your dignity back and your honor back. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls you to. Do you choose the light, or do you choose that darkness? Do you live in what? This ignoble lifestyle, this immoral lifestyle? Do you still want to remain there, or do you want to choose the correct path? So this is the deen al-haq. He said, لِيُظْهِرُهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ, that it becomes what? Over all of the adyan. That this deen is the deen of haq. This is the deen of truth. This is the deen of evidence. Over all the other religions and ways that the people take, that this deen will always be over all of them, because it's the truth. We don't have to explain anything. You see these kuffar, you listen to their beliefs and the Christians and the Jews and listen to what they have to say. Their religion doesn't even make sense. And even for the people that follow that religion, it doesn't make sense. And that's why they're so scared of the spreading of this knowledge of this deen. They're so scared about the spreading of Tawheed and the real truth and the people learning about the Quran and the Sunnah, because they know that they can't stand up against this. They can't stop the spread of this deen. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. And even if the mushrikun and the polytheists hate the spread of this deen, it will continue to spread, and this deen will continue to be over all the other at the end. But again, are you going to be a part of that? Or are you still going to be anchored in the jahiliyyah, anchored in the darkness, and anchored in the foolishness? So this is what we need to make, this choice. Because this deen, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down, this light, this is the guidance to success. With this light, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided us to success in this life and success in the next life. He's guided us with every single thing that we need to live our lives in a successful way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, قَدْ جَاءَكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ نُورٌ وَكِتَابٌ مُّبِينٌ يَهْدِي بِهِ اللَّهُ مَنِ اتَّبَعَ رِضْوَانَهُ سُبُلَ السَّلَامِ وَيُخْرِجُهُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ بِإِذْنِهِ وَيَهْدِيهِمْ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَدْ جَاءَكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ. That has come to you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nurun. The nur here, according to the people of tafsir, some of the people say that it's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he's the nur that came. His sunnah is nur. So now obviously we don't have the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam amongst us today, but we still have that light. We still have Bukhari, we still have Muslim, and we still have the books of hadith where we can learn the deen, learn the sunnah, practice the sunnah, and still continue to promote this light and follow this light. So he said, قَدْ جَاءَكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ نُورٌ وَكِتَابٌ مُّبِينٌ. And the kitab, the book, the Quran, that's made everything plain to you. Everything that you need to know is there in the Quran. Everything else, not important. And what explains the Quran is the Sunnah. You can't understand the Quran without understanding the Sunnah. So everything that we need to live our lives on this earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us. We don't need these kuffars' music. We don't need their movies. We don't need their distractions and their obstructions. And they're trying to keep us busy away from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All we need is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down to us. This is what we need to focus on. This is where we need to put our attention. This is where we need to put our effort. Our hard work, our diligence needs to go into understanding this and practicing this and calling the people to this. He said, يَهْدِي بِهِ اللَّهُ مَنِ اتَّبَعَ رِضْوَانَهُ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides the people with this nur, with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and with the book, the Quran. Who what? مَنِ اتَّبَعَ رِضْوَانَهُ. Who follows the what? The pleasure and follows the actions and does the actions that please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His obedience. The only way that you can understand what obedience is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is by knowledge of the Quran and the Sunnah. Without the knowledge of these two books, you don't have an understanding of what obedience is. So he said, "Man ittaba'a ridwanahu subul as-salam." Subul as-salam, it means the turuq al-najah. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes plain to you, He guides you to the path that's going to bring you to success. That through that light, through the correct guidance, and through the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His messenger, He guides you to the path of success. But if you remain in that darkness, then you're going to continue to fall into the path of regret, the path of sadness and grief. And then you get raised up on the day of judgment, and then those same emotions that you feel in the dunya are going to be magnified. He said, وَيُخْرِجُهُمْ, and this is another benefit, where he said, وَيُخْرِجُهُمْ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes them out of the darkness and brings them into the light. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken a lot of us out of extreme darkness and brought us back and brought us into the light and woke us up with His deen. Is this not something to be thankful for? A lot of us were criminals. A lot of us were doing things in the streets, causing all types of chaos to people. Spreading chaos in our communities, destruction in our communities. Because that's what criminals do. That's what gangs do. Gangs destroy and terrorize the community. The drug dealers, they destroy and terrorize the community. Criminals destroy and terrorize the community. That's darkness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you this light, giving you this deen, giving you the Quran and the Sunnah, something to raise your head with. You had to sit there and walk around in shame at your lifestyle. You know, and some people like, you know, even worse than that. You know, women might have been prostitutes and other brothers might have been strung out on drugs, whatever the case may be, whatever your past is, Allah is taking you out of that. It's taking you out of that dhulumat, out of that darkness and brought you into the light of this deen. This is something to be thankful for. And knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought you into this light, brought you back to your senses, and brought you back to the things that bring you benefit, bring you honor, bring you dignity. This is something that you need to hold tight to. This is not something that you should play games with. This is not something that should become like a part-time job. This should become a full-blown lifestyle. This deen, everything about you and your job, you should be representing this deen. And when you walk out into the marketplace or wherever you go, you represent the Quran and the Sunnah wherever you go. And this is thankfulness that you show to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the light that He's given you, from taking you out of the lifestyle that you are in and bringing you into this light. You have to be thankful, and you thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through obedience, through focusing on learning this deen, so you know how to continue to practice. Continue to practice. Every time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a new blessing, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with more ibadah, with more worship. That's how you thank Allah. You don't just thank Allah with your tongue. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with your actions. Show, like, use this light to be a guidance for the people around you. You know, and learn this deen. And also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned about the light, it brings you to like what? It brings you to an understanding, to knowledge. And the understanding of this deen is the greatest understanding that a person can be gifted. But most of the people, they put so much emphasis today on what? Oh, I want my son to be an engineer. Oh, I want him, but he can't even understand Surah Al-Fatiha. Oh, my son's a lawyer, but he can't even understand Qul Huwallahu Ahad. You know, oh, my son, he's a doctor, but he doesn't even know the basic fundamentals of Tawheed. That doctor, that lawyer, and all these jobs and professions that he has is not going to enter him into Jannah. Again, don't make these professions and this education of the kuffar be a distraction for you. Not saying don't go out and work, do what you got to do, but don't make that your main priority in life and then put the deen on the back burner and learning the deen on the back burner where you don't even know the most fundamentals of your religion. This light, it brings you to understanding, it brings you to knowledge, and this is the greatest of knowledge. With this knowledge, when the Muslims had this knowledge in large numbers, we controlled the world. When we started to go backtrack, when we start backtracking and leaving this knowledge, now look at it. The most stupidest people control the world now. And we're underneath the most stupidest of people. Because of what? Because of us rejecting what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down, this guidance, this light. We don't even want to learn it anymore. But if you make your focus on learning this deen, and we all make this focus of getting back to knowledge, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings us back to that strength and that might in society where people now look up to us and they don't look down on us. They look down on us because we've gone away from the correct guidance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned about the knowledge. He said, وَكَذَلِكَ وَحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ رُوحًا مِّنْ أَمْرِنَا مَا كُنْتَ تَدْرِي مَا الْكِتَابُ وَلَا الْإِيمَانُ وَلَكِنْ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُورًا نَهْدِي بِهِ مَنْ نَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا وَإِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَكَذَلِكَ وَحَيْنَا, and just like this we've revealed to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِلَيْكَ رُوحًا مِّنْ أَمْرِنَا. This Quran has been revealed to you. مَا كُنْتَ تَدْرِي مَا الْكِتَابُ وَلَا الْإِيمَانُ. Before this revelation, you didn't know what the book was, and you didn't know what Iman was. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this nur down and brought that knowledge to you, and Allah raised you up with that knowledge. And He said, after that He said, وَلَكِنْ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُورًا نَهْدِي بِهِ مَنْ نَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا. But we have made it what? A light that we use to guide whoever we please from our servants. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling you that this guidance is only given to a select few individuals. It's not given to all the people. So if you're looking at yourself, don't you want to be from amongst those people, the elite of the elite? The real people, the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen as guidance with this knowledge, with this nur, with this guidance that the people now can look at you and see the path that they also got to follow. This is a huge blessing. And this is something that we should all strive for. He said, مَنْ نَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا وَإِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. And He said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you guide the people through what? Through teaching them the deen. Become a source of guidance for the people, ila sirat mustaqim, to the straight path, the path where there's no crookedness, there's no foolishness, and there's no disobedience, the path of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the path of istiqamah. And also this light is a protection for the people on the day of judgment. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, زَعَمَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَن لَن يُبْعَثُوا لن يبعثوا قل بلى وربي لتبعثون ثم لتنبعون بما عملتم وذلك على الله يسير فآمنوا بالله ورسوله والنور الذي أنزلنا والله بما تعملون خبير. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the kuffar, said زعم الذين كفروا أن لن يبعثوا, that the disbelievers, they claim that they're not going to be resurrected on the day of judgment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Bala wa Rabbi latub'athun. Said no, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swore, no, they're going to be resurrected. And that they're going to be resurrected on that day. Latub'athun, thumma latunabba'un. And then they're going to be informed with everything that they did on this earth. All right, وَذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ يَسِيرٌ. And that's very easy for Allah. Very easy to cause all the people to raise up out of their graves. So just as it's easy like that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise the people out of their graves and hold them to account for all their actions, isn't it easy for you to raise your hands and ask Allah for that guidance, for knowledge, for this light on a constant, regular basis? And don't you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you? Because that's even easier for Him to give you that than it is to raise up. But everything's easy for Allah. Everything. He said, وَذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ يَسِيرٌ. Easy. And then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَآمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ. Then He told the people, in preparation for this day, now that you know that this day is going to be established with no doubt that you're going to be raised up out of your graves and you're going to be held accountable for all the actions that you did in this dunya. فَآمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. So now, believe in Allah and His messenger. Have true belief in Allah and His messenger. Not just with your tongue, because real iman is with the heart, is with the tongue, and with the limbs. It comes out with the actions. This is your true iman. To say like, Amanna billah, and then you disobey Him. Amanna bi Muhammad Rasulullah, and then you disobey Him, and you don't follow His commands. This is not true iman. This is just what? Lip service. Real iman, it comes out on your actions. It starts in the heart, and it's a spoken word, and it comes out on your actions. So after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Aminu billahi wa rasuli wa nur alladhi anzalna. And believe in this light that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down, this guidance, this Quran, and the Sunnah. الَّذِي أَنزَلْنَا وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرٌ. And know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is He's informed of all of your actions. Everything that you do on this earth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is informed, He knows what you're doing. So in preparation for this day, have that belief and follow the light, because that's the only thing that's going to save us on that day. Anything else, if you want to remain steeped in darkness and you want to be anchored in the jahiliyyah, then that's your regret on the day of judgment. Wallahu musta'an. Wa aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum wa li sa'iril mu'minin astaghfiruhu innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه ونصلي ونسلم على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياءهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allahu wali. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the protector, the sustainer. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that's going to give you the victory and everything that you need in this life. Huwa waliyul ladina amanu. He is the protector of the people who believe, of the believers. And this is what He does for the believers. He's the wali, so He's the protector. So what does this protector do for us? يُخْرِجُهُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ. He takes you out of the darkness and إِلَى النُّورِ, and brings you in to the light. Again, this is the benefit of following that light. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your protector. He takes over your affairs and He guides you in every all of your affairs in this dunya. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves you to yourself, this is the biggest punishment that you can have in this life. You think that you can do things on your own. You think that, oh, I'm independent. No, you're not independent. We're all servants of Allah, and we're reliant on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for every single breath that we take. And that's the understanding that you have to have. You never, ever, ever leave away from the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of everything that you do, everything that you think in your heart, everything that goes on in your head. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of. And He's the protector, and He guides the people when they follow this light and they follow the correct guidance, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects them in all of their affairs and guides them to the things that are pleasing to Him. And this is the hugest benefit. Because like I said, if you get left to yourself, you destroy yourself. You always have to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He said, يُخْرِجُهُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. So He takes them out of the darkness and into the light. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. And the people who disbelieve. أَوْلِيَاءَهُمُ الطَّاغُوتِ. They're protectors, and they're the people that they look up to, and the people that control their affairs are the taghut, the shayateen. The shayateen are their awliya. They're the ones guiding them to the what? To the path of their own destruction. And a lot of us have these shayateen as friends, as close companions, and we sit there and listen to them day and night. And these are the people that you got to get rid of out of your life. But the only way that you can get rid of them is, again, you have to go back to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is al-inaba. Al-inaba is that you return to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You return to making dua. You return to asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for assistance in all of your affairs. Don't think that there's anything in this life that you can do on your own. Always go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with everything that you have. You have problems in your life. You have difficulties in your life. You go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the last third of the night. And that's the time for complaining. The time for complaining is when you stand up in the last third of the night, you raise your hands and you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make your affairs easy. You take your affairs back to Allah. But the other people, they follow these taghut, they follow these shayateen. And they're the ones that lead them down that path of destruction. They lead them the path of bid'ah. They lead them to the path of disobedience. And they embellish these things to them. Look at the society that we live in, where people glorify killing another human. People glorify destroying their neighborhoods, destroying and terrorizing their neighborhoods. This is glorified amongst the people. Because of what? They've taken the shayateen as their awliya. They haven't followed the light. They're steeped in darkness. And you still got Muslims even today that still have this love for that type of lifestyle in their hearts. This is love for kufr. How are you going to have the completion of iman when you still have love for disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart? You have to get that out, and the only one that can assist you in getting that out is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in complete obedience, not half and half obedience, not wishy-washy obedience. All right, you have to go back in complete and total obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because this, having a love for that type of stuff, but look at them, look at the society. We glorify the most despicable of people. Most despicable. You go to most of the streets now and you see who do the kids who do they look up to? They look up to the drug dealers and the gang members, the killers. That's what you want your kids looking up to. That's the type of lifestyle that you want to promote with the children. This type of foolishness and terrorization of the neighborhoods. Or do you want to promote what? That we get back to this deen, that we follow this light, that we follow the Quran and the Sunnah, and we become we bring safety back to the neighborhoods. We rebuild the neighborhoods, and we become like this guiding light for the people in the neighborhoods. What is it that you want? Stop anchoring yourself to that darkness and get away from it. Nothing is glorified. Anything outside of this masjid is nothing to glorify about. Nothing. The same person that you see, that you sit there and like look at him rolling around in a Rolls Royce, what do you think he's going to be doing in his grave? You think that Rolls Royce, you think that lifestyle, you think, the lifestyle that he lived is going to benefit him in his grave? You think he's going to be happy about the decisions that he made in his life? So don't follow behind fools. You have the light, you have the guidance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it to you. This is what you follow, the Quran and the Sunnah. That's the only way that we can bring about any good in this society. Wallahi, these kuffar have sat here and corrupted for years and decades and decades and decades. And you see the society just getting worse and worse and worse while we sit around and be quiet. When are you going to wake up? When are you going to go back to your deen? And when are you going to realize what's the most important thing? What is your ras al mal? What is the thing what your true capital that you have that prepares you in this life for the next life? That's what we need to get back to. We need to get back to learning this deen, practicing this deen, and calling the people to this deen. Wallahu musta'an. Allahumma thabbitana ala hadha deen hatta nalqaka bih. Allahumma atina fi dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wa aqimus salah.